Hello again, and welcome to episode 9 of the Caerphilly Works podcast. Last week, I brought you part 1 of a conversation I had with Gaynor, employment mentor for the Communities for Work project, about some interview tips and techniques. On this episode, we're going to continue that conversation, so here is part 2. One thing I always wish I was told when I was younger, because I never had access to all these amazing, mentoring when I was younger. It's nice that people have got it now, but I wish I had it then. Was think before answering questions, because I always thought when somebody asks a question, you've got seconds to think of the answer and tell them, straight away. And I used to fumble over what I was saying, say the wrong thing, or just kind of black out, and I come back 5 minutes later and think, what have I just said to that person? You are allowed time to kind of sit.
You are, definitely. And breathe as well. I think that's something I say to people. Make sure you breathe, because as stupid as that sounds, some people just like rattle on and on and on and on, and then it comes to the end and then they're like, yeah, stop and think for a couple of seconds about what you're going to say. And another thing, sort of on that same theme, is that sometimes questions will come in 2 parts. So they will ask you a question and there's sort of follow-up to that question in the question. And I've done this before, that you answer the first part and then you forget what the second part was. But don't worry, make sure that you're answering the right question. Just ask. Say, I'm really sorry, but I've covered everything what I needed to cover in the first part. But then can you remind me now what the second part was? It's much easier to ask than to get it wrong and answer a completely different question than what they've asked.
And they're not looking for too much. They're not looking for a whole spiel. Funnily, I remember when I was interviewing someone before, and it's the general first question, everyone asks is, tell us a little bit about yourself. And the person give a very short answer. Like, okay, that's fine. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? 20 minutes later, they were still talking. And I thought, okay, you've gone from a 1-sentence answer to something that's far too long. I think I know more about you than I do about myself at the moment. And we've got about 15 minutes left of the interview to actually get through everything else, including other people to see. It's keeping it to the point.
That's exactly what I was going to say to you, Craig. Keep to the point and don't waffle. It's easy. I'm a massive waffler, so I'm maybe the wrong one to say it. The point of the interview is to find out how good you are for that job, not to know that you went to school, started at 5 years old, and then at 10 years old you went to comprehensive, and then you met your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and then you got married when you was 21. And they don't want to know that, because that's nothing to do with the interview. Yeah, everything in that interview has got to be about why you want that job and why you were going to be the right person for that job.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep to the point.
And don't talk too fast. That's my personal tip. I'm a very, very fast talker, and I have to stop. When I get excited, I'm gone. And people just look at me like I don't know what he's just said. So it's, even if you're nervous or excited, either one, make sure you slow down and take time.
As I said, take a breath.
Take a breath. Have a think. I love the glass of water on the table because that's a good way to, if they got water, take a glass, because if you need to think, take a sip, because you're taking a glass. It's not too awkward. And then maybe talk after.
Good idea, Craig, but I will, being on the negative side, I can remember being so nervous that my hands were shaking so much that the glass was rattling against my teeth, which again wasn't a good look.
Take your own straw, maybe.
Choose your point to pick your glass up when your hands are not shaking.
Well, speaking about foods and things, there's one thing that one of the team sent through, which I don't know how to take it, to be honest. It was about adhering to all the rules, because there have been occasions where people have gone into an interview and there was a rule, don't eat in the room. And then they had a task to actually decorate some cookies. And anyone who took a bite didn't make it through to the next round.
Really? Oh, that's a strange one.
So it was like a bit of a test within an interview. So I guess that's been observant to what they want and what they're looking for in that case.
Yeah, that is sort of a trick thing, isn't it? I can remember doing a course once where we had a piece of paper with giving instructions, and then when you got to the end, that's all you had to do was put sign the bottom, but everyone was taking so much time answering all the questions, and it was only at the last question that it said, ignore all the questions before and just write your name at the bottom. So again, yeah, it's just making sure that you read through everything.
And I guess that's job dependent as well. So, you know, it might have been a certain job where you have to have high attention to detail, make sure you're reading through things thoroughly before filling them in.
But then again, if you made cookies, I mean, who's not going to eat them?
No.
I would.
Depends if they're nuts in them, to be honest.
It's just putting temptation in your way, innit? Come on.
Not just the team who've said things, you know, personal things, but also, you know, there's been lots of things on TV. The Apprentice is also one of the bigger ones that is mainly about, you know, interviews and a big job interview week to week. So.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, everyone wants to watch that episode of the series, don't they, with the interviews. To be honest, they are extremes. They are sort of made to trick people, which isn't a true sort of reflection of what an interview that you or me may go for. But yeah, they are enjoyable, seeing people get into those situations that they don't need to get into. Again, it's one of the tips is that we give to people is don't lie. So, you know, don't lie about what you've done before.
No, it's a fine line in it. It's between, you know, it's trying to, you know, promote yourself and say, oh, I can do this, I am good at this, you know, and some people might find that a bit difficult sometimes to... A
lot of people don't like talking about themselves and saying good things about themselves. I mean, I've done courses before where I've said to people, right, say 5 nice things about yourself, 5 things that are good. And they find it so difficult. They can't say good things about themselves. But you say 5 bad things about yourself, and they find it really easy. So it's not about lying. It's just to, you know, make sure you make a good impression of yourself and make sure you say all the good stuff that you've done.
That's it. The good impression is the main thing. And the bad impression would be lying. You know.
Yeah.
I have done something you haven't done. If it gets checked later on, then.
And again, going back to what you said about like giving one-word answers, that's not good. Because again, as I said before, doing the interview is sort of an expansion of your CV. So where you can only put a few little lines on your CV about what you've done, the interview is to expand on that and give examples. Because you know, it's one of the things that I've found that most people fall down on is that they say, oh yeah, I worked in a shop, but that doesn't really say a lot, does it? It's not, you know, what did you do in that shop? Well, you know, you could have been the manager, you could have been the cleaner, you could have been anything, you know, anything in between. So yeah, give examples. If they're asking what experience have you had, you don't just say I worked in a shop. I was in the shop. I used to serve customers. I used to give excellent customer service. We used to have people coming back because they enjoyed the experience in the shop so much. You know, that may be going a bit far, but you know, it's just giving the examples of.
It's like the work you've carried out. You know, you worked on the shop floor, if you worked out of the warehouse, you know, and it is that rapport is a good one. You know, if you can show you can build really good rapport with customers.
Yeah.
Some do like, you know, I used to work in a shop, and a lot of customers used to come back and say, oh, you know, I like so and so, you know, and I come back and you know that's why I like coming down here because you know whoever on the checkouts, it's really nice, you know, and I get really nice service down here, so that's why I come back, you know, and that's good. You know, little stories like that.
Yeah, you know, something like that. It's a really good thing to say, something that's individual to you, that's not sort of generic. I do this and I do that. Is something that have happened to you that's different to other people. Is showing that you know you've got a bit of personality, that you're right for that job, that there's something. Again, I'm going back to something that The Apprentice now is one of the was it Claire Young? She was runner up in The Apprentice, and so she's given a few different tips about what good interviews and what are bad interviews. And one of the things she said is to know your USP, which is your unique selling point. So ask yourself what's different about you to other people. Why should that employer specifically think that you were good for that job and not the person that was interviewed before or after you? So it's making yourself stand out in a good way.
What extra things can you bring to the role that you think would be beneficial that might not be in that job description? You've hit everything in the job description, but what else do you have that someone else might not?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, like prior to the interview, on a CV or an application form, I know from personal experience that if someone have put, like, I fly an aeroplane, you want to meet that person. You want to know, all right, okay, so what's it like flying an airplane? What made you want to do that?
But like I said, it's one of the first things that you said at the beginning of this is the interview is there for them to get to know you.
Yeah.
And your personality in the team is going to be a big factor in that, and it's getting to know what your interests are, what you're into, how you react. Are you personable? Are you easy to get along with? Are you a team player? And that stuff can come out in some little personal things.
And maybe sometimes your interests or your hobbies may have an effect. And if you haven't worked for a long time, sometimes those things can be relevant. The transferable skills.
Yeah, and transferable skills is a big one. So one type of interview we've touched on a little bit, but not much, is the new way that things are going, obviously, with the kind of situation, is video interviews, which are quite a lot like your normal type of interview, only there's less physical interaction, there's no handshakes. They only tend to see your face or part of your shoulders and nothing. Even in those situations, one thing a lot of people don't think about is, still make sure you're dressing smart, like we said. Still make sure you've got trousers on, shoes, because it'll make you feel, more prepared that way,
Yeah, and some dressing smart sometimes. It's like when you go out for an evening out, and it's like when you've got all your makeup on and your hair done and you got a nice aftershave on and whatever. It gives you that little bit of confidence.
Yeah, it's just making sure that the same rules apply, no matter if it's in person or over a video interview.
Same thing. And as one of our triage workers, Farah, who you've spoke to in one of the earlier podcasts, she gave a really good sort of tip. Is that if you do a phone interview, the person on the other end can still sort of tell what sort of mood you're in. So if you've got a frown on your face or your your tone of voice is coming across not very well, they can tell that you're not that interested in the interview. And as Farah said, put a smile on your face, and that comes across the phone. You try it. It's surprising how a smiley face can sort of, even if you're not seeing someone, you can still tell they've got a smile on their face.
Yeah, like I said, every job brings its requirements, I guess, of how the type of person they're looking for, the type of way they want you to present yourself. I mean, going back to what I said earlier about, shoes to an interview, I'm guessing if you're going for an interview in sports or sports development or leisure or something, maybe wind trainers and jogging bottoms might not be a bad thing. I guess it depends on the job. I don't know.
I don't know about that, to be honest, because again, that may be something to ask about, maybe phone to ask, is it formal?
And it shouldn't be afraid to ask, at the interview, is it going to be, is it formal dress code or casual? They'll tell you there and then, if it's up to you, always go formal.
If you were in a waiting room and you've got like 5 people waiting to go to an interview and they're all dressed smartly in their suits and you've got your trainers and joggers on, even if it's for a sports job, it's going to put you off to start with. So better off asking in advance to make sure, rather than get there and think, oh my God, I've made a really drastic mistake here. So always best to ask, I think. And like you said,
well, like Velcro trousers, you just kind of rip them off if you've got something else underneath.
Superman.
Just in case.
Like I said, we talked about The Apprentice, and it's worth having a look at that sometimes to think how not to do an interview, because that's just as interesting and informative. But there's also, which I was having a look when I was thinking about doing this podcast, about sort of programs that are on the TV about interviews. And there's one that I found called The Job Interview on Channel 4. It's real people going for real jobs with real employers. And so that's a read to look at, just to sort of give you an idea of what employers are looking for, and sort of behind the scenes that the employers are actually real people and they do care about the people they're interviewing. There will be a few funny stories and whatever in there because they got to do that to make it sort of entertaining. But the interviews themselves, they're a really good way of looking yourself at how maybe you were coming across, things that you could possibly change in what you do if you're going for loads of interviews and not getting jobs. There's an opportunity there to see maybe that's things that you were doing that maybe you shouldn't be doing. But again, speak to your mentor.
If you don't have a mentor,
get one.
Get in touch, give us a ring, and get yourself a mentor. They're free. They work really hard for you. They've got all the expertise. Don't be afraid. Come and ask. And if you're from, the Blackwood, Newbridge kind of Risca area, and you're above 25, you might end up with Gaynor.
You do. Never know.
Mentor.
But a mentor is, definitely. I would recommend them. Not just because I am one, but
I'm not one, but I do recommend them.
But why not? What have we got to lose? And just
exactly. And the more help you've got, the better.
Oh, definitely. When looking for work, more help the better. You're totally right.
So we'll leave it there for today. So again, thank you again for coming and having a chat about interviews, Gaynor. We'll have you back at some point because you've got so much knowledge and expertise. I'm sure there's
no problem.
Tons of topics so we can actually chat about, or you can just talk at me about, and I just started listening in awe, to be honest.
There is, Craig. I've made notes and I haven't gone through half of them. So I think you've got a series in me yet.
Yeah, so we'll do Gaynor's Interview Techniques, the series. The podcast, the movie, the show, the musical coming soon to a theatre near you.
Oh God! Don't please, because I will sing.
We did sing. We've got our Christmas video from a few years ago. We were all on this singing.
Oh yeah.
Nobody go back and check that. To be honest, I might take it down after before this goes out. Yeah. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, get that on. I don't think I was singing like on my own then. I didn't do a solo. So
yeah, you did.
Oh, did I?
Is it on the 8th or the 9th? Or it was one of the top ones on the 10th day of Christmas.
Oh, yeah, the days of Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to find it now.
I'm going to find it and send it over now to show you. Yeah.
On the 10th day of Christmas, Caerphilly gave to me.
Cool. Well, thanks for that, Gaynor. And hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
Lovely. Thanks, Craig.
Okay. Bye.
Ta-ra.
As always, if you'd like to get in touch, you can call us directly on 01443 864 227. You can email us at communityregen@caerphilly.gov.uk, or you can find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at Caerphilly Regen. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
The Caerphilly Works podcast is a collaboration between Communities for Work, Communities for Work Plus, Bridges into Work 2, Inspire to Work, Working Skills for Adults and NET. The Communities for Work Employment Support Team is funded by the Welsh Government and the European Social Fund, working in partnership with Communities and Job Centre Plus.